Hi everyone, Dylan here. If you are currently failing mathematics, this video is for you, right? I have taught math for the last 8 years and I want to dissect, right, why you are currently failing math, right? Batches after batches, I've witnessed the patterns by your seniors, the mistakes made by them, right? What are some of the actions that can help you to improve math once and for all, right? So, in order to make a change, there's always two things that are required, right? You need the mindset portion and you need the skill set portion. So, this video is focused on the skill sets part, right? If you're currently someone that says that, hey, I hate math, I don't want to touch math, then you are in the category whereby you need some mindset change. Okay, this video is not meant for that. Okay, over here, I want to work on students that really are putting in an effort, but yet at the same time, they're not seeing the results. Okay, so I hope that this video can help this specific profile of students over here. Okay, so if you're currently failing mathematics, right, you have been working really hard, but you have no idea and you're struggling, there are few things and few mistakes that you're making. Number one, right? Your foundation is really weak and you're randomly doing questions, right, all over the place. Sometimes you're picking up TYS questions, sometimes you're picking assessment book questions. There's no particular game plan and no particular flow. Sometimes in class you understand here and there, right? But then when the drill goes a bit faster, you're lost, right? And certain formulas, principles, you can't really apply them. Okay, so we call this, right, you need to unlearn and relearn the entire concept once and for all, right? Because it means that your foundation is weak. You can't be randomly doing questions, right? And it just doesn't help. So whenever you're learning something new, you always must go back to the fundamentals. And the fundamentals is not to learn the formulas. The fundamentals is not to learn the principles or the concepts. The fundamentals is to ask yourself, what is this chapter all about? Are you able to explain, right, to a 3-year-old, to a 5-year-old, right, the overview of this chapter? Right, that's all. So if I ask you, hey, what is differentiation all about? What is linear law all about? What is trigonometry all about? If you can't really explain to me in simple terms, then it just tells me that you don't understand the chapter. Right? So I don't even need to go into the formulas and the steps and how to solve the question. We just want to have appreciation of what is this chapter about. Right? So let's say you're learning differentiation, right? We don't even talk about how to differentiate x squared. Why is it 2x? Right? We go back to how is differentiation being created, being discovered? What is differentiation all about? What are we finding? What are the problems we want to solve when we are learning differentiation? Now, if you are able to understand that, means the dots have connected. Then once dots are connected, then it's easier for you to go in as to, why is differentiating x squared 2x, right? Then things becomes easier from there, right? And then we improve, the difficulty level, right? From, just like taekwondo, from white belt to green belt, and then so on and so forth and so forth, right? So we must always practice things in sequence, right? And not just jump randomly. Because, whenever I teach, there are certain students that randomly, right, their foundation is weak, and then you just say, let me just do the TYS question. The TYS question, right, are not in a specific order, right, in terms of the difficulty level, in terms of the question types. Things are just everywhere. Same thing as textbook questions. Sometimes, in the last 20 questions, right, the questions are just everywhere, right? Not, it's not helping you in certain order as well. So, right, you need to learn this in order so that your brain can, can understand and piece things together. All right, so that's the first thing you want to work on. Number two, now if you ask an A1 student, right, this particular question as to, hey, when you go for an exam, right, are the questions predictable? Are the questions, have you seen them before? Chances are they have seen the questions before, they have done those questions before, and they can easily tell you, hey, in this chapter, these are the few question types. It's predictable. Versus, if you're currently failing, right, the thought process is, hey, I've never seen this question before. How come it's so different from what I've covered in like homework questions? How come it's so different from a TYS question? Right. So the very first thing that you want to work on, right, especially you're preparing for exams, is to understand in every chapter what are the specific exam questions that will come up. Right. And trust me, in secondary school, there's only this couple of few questions. Right. Work on them. Right. Being able to categorize and analyze types of questions are, a very, very important skill set that you want to master. Right. So for instance, right, in differentiation application of increasing decreasing function, how many types of question are there, or can they test? The truth is there's only two types. If you can tell me the two types, then you know that you have mastered the content, right? So being able to analyze, being able to recognize can help you, right, to gain a bit more confidence as well, because now you'll be like, hey, I seen this before. Hey, it's just these two types of question, right? So you can see that um I always say that the stages, right, to learning is like, can like that one, right? Oh, I've seen this before. Chase, just like that, right? So you can see that this is a flow. So it should always start from wow, why there's only these few types. Oh, I've seen it before, right? Maybe I'm still learning, right? Maybe I can't solve it yet, but it's perfectly fine. And the more you do, you suddenly and evolve to a new level. Like Chase, actually just like that, right? So once you evolve into that stage, you suddenly realize that hey, actually things is not that hard. You start to gain confidence, start to gain, more satisfaction and fulfillment, right, when you are solving the questions. And last but not least, the third mistake is minimal exam practices. Now, if you just look at those students getting A's and B's, there often they are doing answer questions, other schools' exam practices, right? But for yourself, you're just doing some homework questions, reading through some notes, and then you go for your exams, right? That's the reason why, right? If you have minimal exam practices, you are not exposed to what can come out in the exam, you're unaware of the question types, your foundation is not as strong, right? And of course, with the exam anxiety, the adrenaline and the expectations and the stresses, you're not going to perform, right, very well in your exam, right? That's why you have mind blanks, right? You start to use terms like mind blanks, careless mistakes, etc., etc., right? So we want to, have time, right, for exam practices and make sure that it's timed, right? Go through some speed training, right? Learn to recognize the exam questions, learn to recognize what are the, you know, typical phrases, right? What are they looking out for? What's the exam rubrics? And from there, you start to being able to hack and crack the exam code. And with that, trust me, you start to see yourself improving. And sooner or later, right, you're not just going to pass, but you're going to score really, really well. And in the next video, I want to dissect, right, how do you get from a C to a B, and then from a B to an A, right? So hope it helps, right? So really work on your foundation, right? Learn how to analyze and categorize the types of questions. And last but not the least, right, have sufficient time for exam practices in a time environment. And trust me, you'll start to see yourself passing mathematics. All right, so I wish you 加油 and let's do well together.